Hello and welcome to Bio Lessons. Today we are going to be talking about the nervous system. The nervous system is part of our coordination to respond to changes in the environment. We respond to changes in temperature, we respond to changes in light, we respond to threats, we communicate, we do lots of stuff, and we do that with our central nervous system, among other parts of our body as well. But the main coordinator of our body is going to be the nervous system. And the nervous system is divided in central nervous system. And when you think about central nervous system, usually we think about the brain. Yeah, the brain is central nervous system. But actually it goes beyond the brain. The spinal cord is also part of the central nervous system, which means that's also responsible for coordination, which means also responsible for taking decisions. There are some decisions that are made not by your brain, but by your spinal cord. By the end of this class, I'm going to show you an example. Which is not part of the central nervous system, is the peripheric or peripheral nervous system, which, by the way, is the nerves that get to the central nervous system or from the nervous system. Here you have a little picture showing the central nervous system. Now, let me take this out here. Central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, and here we have the nerves in the peripheral nervous system. Those are the two divisions that we have. And the star of the show is this guy over here, the brain. All folded parts is the cerebral hemisphere. We have two hemispheres, the right one and the left one. They are responsible for the most complex and the most detailed coordination we have in our body, like what you call thinking, what you call reasoning, and all that stuff. They are going to be coordinated in here. The two hemispheres are connected by this guy over here called corpus callosum, connect the two sides. And in the back here we have a cerebellum, which means and looks like a small brain. This small brain is responsible for our coordination of motor skills, among other stuff, but mainly motor skills are coordinated here. When you do something that sounds kind of automatic, like writing, like walking, this is coordinated here. You don't think to write a letter A, you don't think up, down, cross. You just go there and say A, and your hand do the movement. You don't think about riding a bicycle, like know how you have to balance your body on the top of the bike. You just do it, and who's coordinating that? The cerebellum. The other part over here that we have, which is the exit of the brain, is the beginning of the spinal cord, the medulla oblongata. This part is a very important one because it is the one that coordinates automatic stuff, actually autonomous stuff, like ventilation, like changing your heart rate in response to gases. All these very basic functions, your digestive system and on, is going to be controlled by the medulla oblongata. People that suffer a serious accident and they are brain dead, if the medulla oblongata is still working, they stay alive. The body is staying working. So because the medulla oblongata keep the body functioning, because the beginning there of the spinal cord. What we have in this image, which is not actually central nervous system, it's a nervous, but also a gland, are those two guys over here. The pituitary gland is actually a gland, and the hypothalamus is a nervous glandish kind of stuff that controls the pituitary, and actually it is responsible for many hormonal controls in our body. The nervous system is actually integrated with hormones. Hypothalamus is going to be responsible for controlling your body temperature, is going to be responsible for controlling your thirst, your appetite, and so on. Another picture here, the hemispheres, we divide them in parts. For example, we have the frontal lobe, which is responsible for decisions and so on. You have here the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, the temporal lobe that's located close to our tempora, and each part of the brain have different thinking functions. But overall, we're not going to be seeing this here in much details right now. We're going to be focusing on the medulla oblongata here. Is going to be part of what controls the circulation, the ventilation, things that we have studied so far, and the cerebellum, yeah, movement coordination. These are the guys. If you are curious about this, there's a lot of sources that you can look for more information about this guy. Okay, more pictures here about this amazing structure. You see here, the brain is a very, 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 very complex structure, and yeah, it's amazing. Okay, let's now take a look on what makes the brain, what makes the nerves and the spinal cord. We have here the nerve cells, and I'm going to be showing you a few different nerve cells, but basically they are little cells that are specialized in sending and receiving signals. They are stimulated and they respond to that stimulation, and they carry this stimulus around them. Okay, a typical nervous system cell, a nerve cell or a neuron, looks like this one over here. We are going to have a cell body, which will have a nucleus there in the middle. So it's just quite like any other cell, but this is a very branched one. And around the cell body there will be dendrites that looks like little fingers. These little things, they get into the cell body. A single nerve cell can have up to 10,000 dendrites getting into this cell body. They are the ones that are going to be getting the information to the cell body. And from the cell body, we are going to have one long finger or like a leg that are going to be calling the axon. This is the way that the signal moves to and moves away from this nerve cell. The axon actually is surrounded by little cells. This in yellow, they are Schwann cells, and the Schwann cells, they roll around the axon. They are going to have an important function. Okay, you have there a Schwann cell nucleus, is actually a cell, and in between the Schwann cells we are going to have little nodes that the axon show up. It's where the axon membrane is exposed, called the Ranvier nodes. So this part of the axon, they are going to be quite important in the sending the transmission along an axon, along a nerve. Okay, in the very end of the axon, we are going to have the axon ending, which is going to be the presynaptic knob of a synapse, a connection between two nerve cells, or it can be a motor plate if it's connecting to a muscle. So this neuron that I'm showing you here looks very much like a motor neuron, the one that's sending a signal directly to the muscle. So in this case, it will be ending in a motor plate. Okay, yeah, though that's the neuron. The idea of the neuron is to connect, and here we have a motor neuron, just like I showed you before, connected to a muscle. But there are different kind of neurons with different shapes. For example, this one is kind of weird, and the cell body is actually on the side over here, and it has kind of an axon that instead of getting out of the cell body, it just crosses through, and this is a sensor neuron. This is a guy that connects a sensor to the central nervous system, is going to be sending information. And sometimes we are going to be having relay neurons or interneurons that are going to be having no axon, or actually a very tiny little axon. So one of these dendrites here actually is an axon. So you're going to have many entrances over here, but only one exit over there. It's quite a short-legged motor neuron. It's a relay neuron. This is responsible for connecting. Your brain is made basically by this guy over here. Many dendrites, and connecting by synapse to other many neurons around. Okay, the muscle neuron connects the central nervous system to the muscles, to the effectors. The sensor neurons connect receptors to the central nervous systems, and the relay neuron, they are part of the central nervous system. They are the ones that process information. We're going to find them in the brain, and we're going to find them in the spinal cord. Okay, the idea of a response is that a stimulus, something that happens that is possible to be noticed by a nervous system, like light, sound, chemicals like smell or taste, heat, electricity, and so on. It's going to be sensed by receptor. So receptors can be eye cones or rods, your tongue or nose chemoreceptors, and so on. These receptors, they will end up stimulating a sensorineuron, that one that has the little body on the sides, that's going to be sending information from the receptor to the central nervous system. So it's part of the peripheric nervous system. The sensorineuron, therefore, connects into the relay neuron. The first one is going to be in the medulla and is going to be part of the central nervous system. The relay neuron decides, am I going to be reacting to this or not? And if it decides to react, it's going to be sending a signal to a motor neuron. The motor neuron is also part of the peripheric nervous system, and then the motor neuron is going to be activating the effector, which in the case of motor is going to be a muscle, but this could also be squeezing a gland or something like that. So this is a cascade of reaction to a stimulus. This is the way that you go. So just for you to see how those parts that I showed before, they are put together to make a response. Okay. To show you an example of a response, a very simple one, I'm going to show you something that's called an arc reflex. And the arc reflex is one of the simplest and fastest responses that we have in our body. Here we have a cross section of our spinal cord. So this is looking the spinal cord through the top. So, and we are going to be getting into the spinal cord a sensorineuron. You see this is a sensorineuron because it has the cell body on the sides. This sensorineuron itself is a receptor as well. So the sensorineuron itself senses pain. So if a pin or any other kind of pain in your skin stimulates this sensorineuron, this guy is going to be sending a signal all the way over here to the central nervous system, into the spinal cord. And in the spinal cord, they're going to have an interneuron, a relay neuron, that's going to be deciding, is this pain strong enough that I have to do something about it? And if it decides yes, it's going to be sending a signal to a motor neuron. And the motor neuron is going to therefore contract your muscle and you move your arm away from the pin that has just picked your skin. You do that even before another neuron go up into the spinal cord to your brain to tell you, hey, look, you have just felt pain in your skin, in your finger or whatever. We respond very, very fast to this. It's a response that takes only 3 neurons to happen. You have the sensorineuron, relay neuron, and the motor neuron. So with 3 neurons, you just respond so fast that you don't even realize that you responded. Just after your muscles have moved, your brain is going to say, I felt something over there. This is a quite important way of responding to changed environment, because responding to pain is a very good way of us to stay safe. Okay. Another image here showing you how this thing works. We have here the skin with the sensor neuron sending the signal. The relay neuron, if the stimulus is strong enough, the stimulus will go further. If it's strong enough, the stimulus will go further to the muscle and we are going to be contracting and the response will happen. So it's a very fast response. It only requires 3 neurons to happen. You have no need for the brain to process, because the brain sometimes may overthink stuff. If you put your hand in a hot plate, you may start feeling it warm, and then you start feeling also a smell of burn, and your brain is going to think, hey, yeah, it's warm. Oh, maybe I should go to the beach. Oh, yeah, I'm thinking like having barbecue. And in the meanwhile, your hand is becoming barbecue. No, you have to respond much faster than that. So we need to respond without the brain here. Then later the brain receives information, say, okay, what can I do to avoid this in the future? Okay, it is a spinal cord processing. Your spinal cord make the decision, should I respond to this or not? Okay, the stimulus, of course, must be strong enough to make a response, because very simple, very small ones is not going to be making it to respond. So the decision will be made by your spinal cord relay neuron. Okay, when you have the action potential, and I show you how this stuff works, you're going to understand the idea of how strong a stimulus is. And of course, in class, I can hit your knee to show you this arc reflection taking place. Okay, so take some time now to do a little quiz to see how much you got from this class. I see you in our lessons. Bye bye.